America. A ceasefire now is holding, but there are major issues to solve in the Middle East. President Morsi has grabbed more power, and his detractors say they will challenge that in court. Meanwhile, anti-government protests are escalating as thousands pour into central Cairo, clashing with supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood after President Morsi granted himself unprecedented new powers. Ambassador Dan Gillerman is a former Israeli ambassador to the UN, a Fox News contributor. He's live in Tel Aviv. Bit of a delay on this signal, so bear with us here. First on Egypt. What comes of this disagreement in that country now, sir?
Well, good morning, Bill. And one thing is very clear following your last segment, and that is that the Egyptian people did not win the jackpot. This is not what the Egyptian people wanted. This is not why the young people went to Tahrir Square. They wanted democracy and freedom. They wanted jobs and education. And instead, they got another regime which is really having a stranglehold on them and did this power grab. So I don't think this really bodes well for us. It shows the world, I think, what a tough neighborhood we live in, and the fact that Israel indeed is the only true democracy in the region and the only ally that the United States can rely on. And I feel the Egyptian people feel cheated today. I think the US should feel cheated because this is what they got in return for ousting Mubarak. And I just hope that democracy and the young people of Egypt who yearn for freedom will prevail ultimately.
Well, Morsi has the power now unless you pull another coup. I mean, he's gonna do what he needs to do or feels that he needs to do in that country. It will be very interesting to see how that affects the border crossing in Rafah, that area that goes from Sinai into Gaza, which I know you have protested against for months now, suggesting that weapons are going into Gaza. Now on the issue of Gaza and Hamas, the ceasefire appears to be holding. Is there any suggestion that it will not, sir?
Well, it's been holding for a few days, but we are holding our breath, and we are very cautious and very dubious about it, because all it will take is one rocket from Hamas to break the ceasefire, because we will not take another rocket which will land in a kindergarten or in a school and try and kill our children or our citizens. So this is a very fragile ceasefire, and we do not trust Hamas, and we do not trust this terror organization, which is intent on destruction and bloodshed, to keep its word. If it does, there will be quiet, and the people of Gaza may, at the end, have a life like the people in the West Bank, who are enjoying freedom and a much better standard of living and quality of life. I hope the people in Gaza want that as well, and if they do, they should make and hold Hamas accountable and prevent it from any further terror activities and any further rocket shelling.
Let me come back to Hamas and Gaza in a moment, after we talk about the issue of Iran. Senator McCain just said yesterday Iran needs to be taught a swift lesson about arming Hamas. But even as those words are made public, nothing seems to happen beyond more sanctions and more talk. Will that change?
I very much hope it changes, Bill. I mean, I was talking about the tough neighborhood we live in, and the real bully in the neighborhood is Iran. Iran is the main perpetrator, harborer, financer, and generator of terror around the world. It is the sponsor of both Hamas and Hezbollah. Hamas is truly just the bloody proxy of Iran in the region. And I hope very much that Iran learned a lesson from the last confrontation, because its proxy was beaten very, very badly. And in fact, Iran is the main loser of this conflict, both politically and militarily. Politically, because the truce was actually brokered by countries who are very bitter opponents of Iran, and especially Turkey and Egypt, who are trying to regain the leadership not only of the Arab world but of the Muslim world. And militarily, again, because their proxy was beaten so hard. So they should realize that this could also be just a preview to what awaits them if they continue on their nuclear quest, or if they do rearm their terrorist proxies in the region. We will not stand still for it. We will not let it happen. I hope that the international community, and led by the US, will not let Iran either rearm the terrorists in the region, destabilize the region, and certainly not continue on its quest for nuclear weapons.
Okay,
it must be stopped. It should be stopped. And if nobody else stops them, we will.
Back into Gaza now. Hamas says you must lift the blockade around the Gaza Strip. Will that happen?
It will not happen as long as Hamas is intent on destroying Israel and on shelling Israel and want the blockade to open and to be lifted only because it wants to smuggle and bring in more arms into Gaza. We do not want to punish the people of Gaza. We have nothing against the citizens of Gaza. In fact, they are hostages of Hamas and are put there in what Hamas created to be the world's largest prison. In fact, they're made to live over missiles. And if you go to sleep with a missile, don't be surprised if you don't wake up in the morning. So we will be happy if there is real peace and if there is real quiet to make the life for the people of Gaza much more bearable and much better, because I believe that the higher their standard of living, the lower the level of violence. But first, they have to get rid of that terror organization, Hamas, otherwise their life will be horrible, and we will not lift the blockade and risk the lives of our citizens just to make Hamas happy.
Dan Gillerman, thank you. Mr. Ambassador, for your time there in Tel Aviv. To our viewers at home, shoot an email to hemmer@foxnews.com or send me a tweet on Twitter @BillHemmer. Because you asked, BYA, and as you can tell there are countless issues still to be solved and resolved in the Middle East, even with the ceasefire still in place. And holding for today. Thank you, Mr.